Okay, Mayor Rumbas, we are now live streaming.
Great. Good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order. I'll remind all of council to please disclose of any pecuniary interest at the appropriate time. And we are looking forward to the presentation of the proposed 2022 operating and capital budget. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Treasurer, Deputy CAO, Trevor Jarrett.
Hello, folks. I'm going to keep us somewhat brief and build off where we were on November 24th when the first presentation was made. Since that time, we have had a total of 12 changes that have impacted the budget. 9 are direct operating, 2 are minor capital, and 1 is capital. We have seen the OCIF payment increase of $224,399. That's an increase to our revenue. We got our final MPAC numbers in, and our CVA growth rate has increased by $37,800 to our tax base. And then we have a number of deductions. YMCA staff subsidy has gone down by $10,000 just due to the fact that the hall is targeted to open later than was originally believed. The rebranding reduction of minor capital, we feel with the work that can be done internally between that and the work that can be duplicated through the wayfinding efforts, we can reduce the one by 40,000 and the other one by 10,000 for savings in the 2 minor capital projects of 50,000. The impact of the delay of moving to the new township office is going to save us roughly $25,000. We did get the reconciliation for our policing costs, and it's going to cost us an extra $2,000. The laws fees, which we were originally told would not increase significantly, their materiality is a little bit different than ours. It's gone up $16,203, and we do not believe that we're going to see any significant YMCA revenue this year because of the timing of the opening. So that's been removed as a line item. And the final item are related to Parks and Rec. The delay in the opening of the East Lambton Community Center is going to save us roughly $66,000. And we do have savings going on in Parks and Rec staffing of roughly $15,000 due to ongoing COVID situation and items like that. We did make one addition to our capital budget that was missed in the first go around, and that was shoulder and gravel for Burnham. We did Confederation this past year, and it was well received. So that's why we continued the program, and we'll choose a new target road each and every year. So what that means is, when we presented on November 24th, we were showing that we'd be drawing off of reserves of $477,000 to cover the shortfall. With the net changes here of $360,000, we've gone down to drawing off reserves of $117,000. When you take into impact that the changes in MPAC of not having the increased CVAs would have added roughly another $500,000. I think we were well on track to put away $350,000 into reserves for operating, which is a big improvement of where we've been. So that is the story of where we were and where we've gotten to. I've put in a note that every percent in taxes that is in place generates roughly $26,000. We've proposed in this budget a 2.5% tax increase, and that will increase our tax revenue by $65,000. So that is where we sit. I don't know if there's any outstanding questions or concerns, but I will turn it open to council.
Thank you for that. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Jarrett today? Councillor Morris.
Yeah, Trevor, under minor capital recreation, I thought we were planning on putting something in for the old fire hall to fix the do a little painting and stuff. But I don't see it in there.
That is a carryover project from past years.
Oh, so it's still available?
Yeah,
okay,
it's in reserves.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Westgate.
You mean questions about the whole meeting or just about this part?
I believe are we going to
Anything's on the
break it
floor.
down? Yeah. If council is interested in breaking down any of the tabs or asking about any of that, I think anything is able to be discussed right now.
There's a few things, but I'd like to go down maybe to the capital.
Yep. Did
Um,
you want to go through line by line of the capital, or were there just big things
Not
that you wanted?
necessarily line by line, but we've got money in to fix up the parking lot on Front Street there. Are we sure we want to do that just now? For is the one thing, I have a
You went across from Libro. is what you're
yes.
talking-
We've got a lot of new parking behind the building where we'll have when everything's settled. And I don't know whether we need that other parking now or not. Or yet.
What was the price tag on that? Just, oh, here it is, 100,000.
And what was that to do the asphalting or just gravel?
Asphalt, and I believe to replace the light standards
What was that, asphalt?
and replace the lighting standards.
It is a good point, because Councillor Morris?
I think I'm hoping we're gonna need that parking lot because I'm hoping everything opens back up. The Legion used for the old Roach Hotel was a lot for parking. I think we're kind of short on Main Street for parking if we get things up and going again. It's got to be done sooner or later. I'd like to see it done.
I think maybe there'll be enough parking to replace the old roach behind the new buildings there. And maybe we could put gravel on that area, but I'm not so sure we're ready to asphalt it.
I'd be quite happy with the gravel base to, get it firmed up and make sure everything's right before we put the asphalt on. I have no problem with that. I think gravel's a good suggestion.
Councillor White?
Is there any cost savings of doing it all though, while they're doing that project, Trevor?
There's no cost savings. What we'll do is we will have to grade it, put down the gravel. We're gonna just increase our costs in the future if we do it in two steps. But you're talking gravel, it's not a significant increase. It might be that it's determined that Councillor Westgate's correct in his belief that we have adequate parking and it doesn't get used. So it's probably, in my opinion, a wiser step to do it in phases and see whether or not it's going to be used. If not, maybe it's another asset in our cap that could be sold later.
Cost savings would be minimal because you bring a different contractor in to
Yep.
do the asphalting anyway.
Okay.
Would you like to make a motion to make an amendment to that then, Councillor Westgate?
Yes, for that, or do you want to wait and make a few at the same time? Or we
That's a
just
good
do this
question.
one at a time?
I think we should do them one at a time.
Yeah,
Well, I'll make a motion that we do that.
I second the motion.
so just for clarification, that would be to reduce the budget down to, what would you say?
Probably reduce it to 80,000, would put the gravel in. I think it's 100 now.
Yes,
And keep the light standards in play so that.
Yes, I would do that.
And that's good with the seconder?
Yes, it is.
Any other comments or questions on that item? All in favor of that? That is carried. Councillor Westgate, you had another one?
Yeah, the crosswalk. We've got money in for solar lights in the crosswalk. Is that flashing lights?
I'll turn that over to Andrew to answer.
Yeah, through the mayor. Yeah, exactly. They are the flashing beacons that will go overhead. So they'll be activated with a push button. And then there'll be flashing lights.
Good.
That's for the one on Main Street, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it's just for the one on Main Street.
Okay, perfect.
The fencing at the security fence at the yard, where were you going to put that in, Andrew? Or should we wait and see where we're going to put the salt shed or what we're going to do there and make some decisions before we put the fencing up?
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea. As it stands, it would just be replaced with the way it is now. The gate would be placed in the same location. So
Because I would like to make a decision. I know we discussed it the other night, but to go ahead and do some of the renovations and building at the town office or sheds out there. I think we're long overdue for at least the wash bay and 2 more bays on there. And I think with the discussion we had the other night, that we're much better off leaving it out there. And from what I've heard from the community, they want it left out there. I probably had more texts and people contact me about that than I have anything since this year.
Councillor Morris, do you have a comment?
I agree with Jerry that it should stay out there, and I think we talked about that. I'm a little, I don't know, the building is in good shape, and I think we should put the 2 bays on and the new salt shed. I'm just wasn't too thrilled with the prices that came out from the estimator we had. I'd like somebody, like, it looks to me like it's just a drive shed type. I just don't know. It seems to be a tremendous expense for what we're getting. Could somebody local like that do that job?
What was the estimated cost? Can someone please remind me? For what I guess Councillor Westgate's suggesting is to put a new wash bay on, because ultimately that will save us in the long run with our machinery, will it not?
But I think what I'm suggesting is let's get a plan together there and get on with it and get it going. I'm sure Andrew and the men out there have a lot of ideas about what they want.
Is the
And about how
initiative
the layout should be.
to brush off the various different designs and get it engineered for construction next year or for construction this year? Because I think if we can get it engineered this year and start construction in 2023, I think that's realistic. I think to get it engineered and signed off and completed in 2022 could be a challenge. But
It could be, but if we had a wash bay and 2 more bays out there at this time next year, it would save for the trucks and stuff for the rest of the winter. And do some of it anyway. Maybe heat them other 2 bays and stuff so that when they get out there, the trucks are warm and ready to go. I'm not saying we have to get the salt shed built this year because we fixed enough that it would do another year, I think. Am I not right, Andrew?
sorry, can you repeat the question, Jerry?
I think we did enough work on the salt shed that it would do another year easy enough if we didn't get it done this year.
Yeah, we're safe for another year. It's just, yeah, anything beyond, I think the 3 to 5 years is what was specified. It might be a bit of a challenge.
So if we got the engineering at least done this year, if council want to leave it there.
Councilor Morris, and then Amanda.
I agree with Jerry. Trevor, if we decided to do the engineering this year, it's not in the budget right now, but would we not just transfer that from reserves anyway? Or does it need to go in the budget?
Last year in 2021, we had project R23 in the budget, and it was for the salt shed and wash bay construction of $1,040,450. That was based on an estimate from several years ago from Spreets. If that's going to be the design we're going to go with, we will give it back to Spreets, and we can use that, which will be going into reserves at the end of this year to draw upon to pay for. So we don't need to add another line. We'll just draw it from reserves from what's going to be put in from this year. So essentially the project's in place.
Amanda, did you have a comment?
I think that it was just along the same lines as Councillor Morris and Trevor alluded to. So perhaps what council is looking for based on this discussion is that if your intent is to renovate and improve the existing Warwick Garage site, to direct staff within existing budget allocations to bring back to council a design and a work plan to complete the work using either reserves or future allocations in 2023. Maybe.
Is that council's intent?
That was my intent.
I kind of agree a little bit with that way, that's the way we should go. The wash bay, like it'll save on our equipment and that it's a good investment.
Councillor Mitchell, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'd just like to support that. Absolutely. The getting things done preemptively. And then in these stages, I think it's going to save us. And putting that wash bay out there is going to save our equipment too. So.
Okay, so do we have an official motion on the floor then? Jerry, did you want, or sorry, Councillor Westgate?
We've been talking about this wash bay for 10 years. I'll make the motion that we go ahead and get it going.
Do we have a second?
Engineering or the whole thing?
The engineering part, and we've got quite a bit of money in there that would probably tide us over and get some of the construction done this year. We can get at it, depending on prices and stuff. It's not the end of the world if we don't. We live like we are for another year, but I think we should get on with life there.
Staff can always come back to council if they have a good plan in place to get started with it in the future. Do we have a seconder to Councillor Westgate's motion? Councillor Mitchell? Any further discussion on that or questions from staff? All in favor? That is carried. Now, you had asked about the fencing and the control gate at the Watford Garage. Did you want to go on to discuss that as well?
That's at the Watford Garage. I believe Andrew's answer was for the Watford Garage, but I believe the budget is for the Warwick Garage.
Yes.
Different location.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, I just want clarification.
I would actually leave that in there, just due to the fact that we've had a lot of traffic in there lately of people coming and going, and there's a little bit of concern about safety of equipment in there.
Can I just ask about the Watford Garage? What do we have included in budget for this year as far as improvements to that building? There's the fencing with the control gate for 45,800
For the Watford or Warwick Garage?
for the Watford one.
That fencing is for the Warwick Garage.
Okay. Do we have anything in the budget for improvements to the Watford Garage this year?
We do not, but for 2021, we had 2 projects that we paused on until we had the report that came to council on Monday. They were to replace the fence there for $20,000 and to do some roof replacement work for $25,000. So there's $45,000 sitting in reserves allocated to those projects.
Okay, so that can still happen this year.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Westgate, did you have a comment?
Yeah, that one still concerns me a little bit. I think we need to do, either get it out of there, or move it, or do something, but I think for now, when we're doing that, we talked about this before, was putting, I don't know whether you've seen the plastic that weaves in on the chain link fence, and it blocks the view off in there. I think that could be done fairly, I don't know, probably 20,000, I don't know, maybe not that much. But it would sure improve the sight of it around there. You couldn't see in. And I was wondering if we should take some of that money and do that. Do you know
The
what?
site itself does look pretty bad right now.
Does everybody know what I mean by the
Yeah.
plastic slats? Like it's like
Yeah.
a window
It's
blind
weaved in and
slat that
out.
slides in,
Yeah,
and it cleans it up. I'm not sure if that's what we want to do, but I think it would make it look a lot better.
Trevor, did you say we've got $20,000 sitting there already budgeted for the fence?
Yes, from 2021. That'll be
What-
carried over for 2022.
Okay, what if we got an estimate for Jerry's idea? And then we can, okay, that's a lot of money for maybe tearing it apart in 2 years, or if it's not much, just to do, for now. Because we're gonna have the new building there. I'd like to see something done with it.
Yeah.
But can we, that $20,000, at least we can find out how much it's gonna cost.
mhm.
The quote to fence it is probably stale anyhow, so I think it's probably a good idea to go back and we will bring that idea up to them and see whether or not it's a more palatable number.
Sounds good.
Can we just do staff direction with that, or do you need a motion? No motion? Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Is there anything else that council wants to highlight or look at tonight? Councillor Westgate.
There's another thing that we've been talking about for quite a while is tar and chip on some of the roads. Some of them we have pretty well built up. I see we have money into for Scion Line. I don't know how much of Scion Line's going to be repaired and new asphalt put down. Was that your plan, Andrew?
Yeah, this is for the westerly section of Zion Line that was identified in the paved road study.
It needs done, but there's roads like Brickyard that we had the tar and chip on before that needs a coat of tar and chip on there now. That's been, I don't know, Brad could probably tell me exactly how many years it's been.
Almost 20.
And we should have been doing that every 5 to 10 years for anyway. They recommend often than that. So I just want to make sure another year we get more money in for tar and chip and maybe get some of these other roads done, because I think it's the people along the roads are a lot happier with less dust. We don't have the dust control or as much maintenance gravel that we lose, and we have to put more on. The only thing is, maybe it's a little more for sanding, soling and sanding, but I think maybe we haven't got room in this budget, but next year we should be looking at that.
These numbers came from the paved road study from Spreets, and they have Brickyard in 2 phases in 2024 and 2028 based on condition.
I'm thinking that maybe should be split up because it's getting worse all the time. As far as I'm concerned. But that doesn't change this budget.
Is there anything else that we want to highlight? Councillor
I
Westgate?
have a few things.
That's all right.
Still, we've got money in for the scoreboard. How long has the scoreboard not been used? I think it's quite a while since we've even used it.
The
And if we
scoreboard
have
is,
one, we should have 2 now.
the scoreboard that they're talking about, I believe, is the one inside the arena.
Yes.
Inside the arena? I
Yes.
missed
Yeah.
that. I thought it was the ballpark. Sorry.
I did too, actually, at the last meeting. But yeah, the one inside the arena, I noticed, oh, probably 2 or 3 years ago, the numbers aren't standing out very much. Like it definitely needs to be replaced.
Have we looked at Pepsi or one of the suppliers for the booth? Last time we got a lot of money from Pepsi. I think it was Pepsi off on the scoreboard. I mean, 20,000 or something.
That's a good point.
It will be explored at the time.
Okay, we should make sure that's looked into, that's all. For the new community center, we have money in there for furniture. I didn't see any money in for workout machines for the Y, and I thought we were supposed to supply them.
That was included in the 2021 budget.
Okay, so it goes back to that, comes from
Yes.
that? Good, thank you.
Trevor, for the new gym, do we have money in for like the volleyball nets and pickleball nets and stuff like that? Or was that put in 2021 also?
That was all incorporated in 2021
Okay,
in the number that was there. It was actually 2019, 2020, and 2021 for a total of $11.5 million.
okay.
And for the furniture, does that include the chairs and tables and all of that for inside the hall?
Yes, it does.
And just for curiosity, are we going with round tables or the rectangular tables or a combination of both? Has that been decided yet? Amanda?
So ordering furniture will be the task of our newly soon, when recruited, Parks and Recreation Manager. And the decision on the types of tables or sizes or storage methods have not been yet determined. But I have felt that it was important to have someone with hopefully some recreation experience making those decisions around those tables. So I've deferred it in preparation for our new recruit.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that we want to highlight? Councillor Westgate.
I just, what's in minor capital, we've got 20,000 in for an active transportation plan. What is that? Or have I missed it?
It is part of the Parks and Rec master plan and a direct recommendation from there, and the budget comes from there.
Okay,
And I don't have it open in front of me to tell you exactly what it's for, but it's to, I think it's pretty much self-described.
yeah, but I don't know. I have any idea what it is.
Amanda, do you?
So same as Trevor, without that plan directly in front of me, I apologize, Councillor Westgate, but I believe it is, yes, to create a strategy and plan for active transportation, meaning bike paths along roads when it makes sense, looking at trail networks within the municipality and between subdivisions. And I believe part of the reason behind forming the strategy is that it can be linked to our development fees and charges, and also then utilized through future subdivision planning. So right now, when we have developers approach us about subdivisions, as we've seen recently, right, we're very unclear on our parks and recreation needs and strategies, including transportation networks and trails. So the intent, I think, behind the recommendation from the consultant in the Parks and Rec Master Plan was to create a strategy and plan so that when those areas currently that we know might be developed as residential subdivisions come up, that there's a plan and network that becomes incorporated in that. So that's the background behind it. It's still completely up to council whether, of course, this is the right time to pursue something like that. But I think it's tied into those two development pieces and development charges as well.
Okay, thank you. The only other thing that I had here was we have the money for the fire hall, we'd like to fix the back wall, right? Okay,
Yes, how much did we decide to put into the fire hall from this year's budget? There was the 50,000 for the back wall.
more than that.
That was 350.
350,000.
And that was going to complete so that it was
That's for the structural integrity work to
structural.
extend the life for 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And that is included in this budget.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Any other discussion? Do we want to go, are we comfortable going ahead and making a motion on the budget tonight?
All my questions have been answered.
Okay. Councillor Westgate?
Does Trevor need a little bit of time, or will it still be the same 2.5%?
It's still going to be the same 2.5% because everything we're doing is right now capital. And that's coming off the dollars from waste management. We don't take tax dollars for capital. Tax dollars fund operational expenditures.
With one more question I had, in your first presentation there, we're taking less out of our reserves. But truthfully, for the whole budget, we're putting more in reserves than we're taking out, right?
Yes. Not next year though, because our capital budget is greater than the money that we're getting in from waste management. So we'll be drawing upon reserves.
For this budget
Yes,
being this year.
yes.
Okay, so we're taking
No.
that much out of reserves. All right.
No, we're roughly almost even. And that includes also putting away dollars into investments as per the strategy that's in place. So net effect is we're about $700,000 to the good before we take away the 600,000 that goes into investments.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor White?
Just given the year that, and the 2 years that everybody's been through, do you think we could even forgo a tax increase this year at all?
It's a good question.
You're looking at a $65,000 impact, and I think with the comparators around, you are seeing a lot of municipalities going that route. People have been hard hit. The cost of everything has gone up. You can see that in your CPI year over year. Fuel, I know fuel, I paid $1.48 the other day. per liter. So you're foregoing $65,000. It's going to be captured back, hopefully, in growth. So that's a council decision, but I think the numbers are there to support it.
Would you like to make that a motion, Councillor
I'll make
White?
that a motion. I'll make that a motion.
That we leave it at as is and not do the increase this year? Do we have a seconder to that?
I'll second that motion. We'll be just taking another 65,000 out of reserves.
That's right. And it might not be 65 due to the number of homes we have planning to be developed in the community this year. Growth might cover it.
We do know that eventually the provincial government is going to allow the MPAC increase to occur as well. So that's going to be a huge increase in probably next year.
If that happens next year, then we should be holding our tax.
It's not happening next year, based on the
Not?
the last direction from the province said 2024.
Okay, so if there's any more discussion on the tax rate, we can vote on that then to leave it at a 0% increase this year. Councillor Morris.
I agree with Todd and Jerry in principle a little bit. The only thing I really am worried about a little bit is when you take out of reserves to cover your operating expenses. Like, I think the taxes should cover it, but this is an extraordinary time. So let it go.
Okay. Any other comments?
I'll also put forward, we were very fortunate a couple of years ago to receive a grant to offset some of our losses to COVID. This shouldn't be strapped back upon the taxpayer. If any other opportunities come out, we as staff will continue to explore those to hopefully make up any future losses also.
Thank you for that. Councillor Westgate.
There's one other thing that I had here about are we really getting another increase in insurance of 25%?
That is true.
We had a huge increase last year.
Last year we came in at 13%. We were one of the lowest. And this quote comes directly from our provider. And unfortunately, he told us to budget for 20 to 30%. We went with 25.
And to answer Councillor Morris's question too, we cut 20,000 out of the Front Street park or the parking spot too. So we're probably not taking as much out as what we're.
That's true.
Okay. All in favor of a 0% increase this year? That is carried. And so we just have the rest of the budget, I guess, to pass. Councillor Morris. Oh, sorry, you froze with your hand up there for a second on my screen.
The wonders of internet in the country.
I know.
I have it that the changes to the budget are going to be twofold. We're going to remove the tax increase of 2.5% and reduce the budget for the Front Street parking lot to $80,000. Those will be the changes. And if those are the changes, I will have those made tonight. And we will start having the budget input into the system. Well, we've started and it'll probably be completed by the end of the week.
Then we just need a motion to pass the budget as amended. Councillor Morris.
I make a motion to pass it as amended.
All right, and that's seconded by Councillor White. Any further discussion, questions? All in favor? That is carried. Congratulations, Mr. Jarrett. It's always good to have that under your belt.
Well, it's nice
Roger.
because Andrew and everyone can now complete their draft RFPs so we can get some things started and ordered.
Yes, that's good news. It's always good to be one of the first on the market for sure.
No, again, thank you to everyone on staff who has helped in this process, and we will start on 2023 tomorrow.
Maybe take the rest of the week off before you start on 2023.
New fire trucks, yay.
I mute him.
Yeah, 4 years before fire trucks.
All right, so we just need bylaws then.
Thank you, Mayor Rumba. So the first motion is that bylaw number 8 of 2022 be read a first and second time.
It's moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Westgate. All in favor? That is carried.
Thank you. And second motion that bylaw 8 of 2022 be read a third time and finally passed.
Moved by Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor White. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you all so much for another good budget process. And we just need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Westgate, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All in favor? That is carried. Congratulations. Thanks so much, staff, for all of your hard work. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, folks.
Night, folks.
Night, everyone.